Oh my goodness.
What?
It's a Baby Yoda drink.
Oh my God. That's very cute and silly. What is it? Oh, creme de menthe, Irish cream, half and half, and vodka. I mean, it feels like it would make me barf.
But really earns the name
Grogu.
Oh, I was like, Gorka? What was his name?
Grogu. Yibo is what we're going with. We're going with Yibo.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice-weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, I'm nervous, excited.
Why?
I haven't watched it in ages.
Really? I feel like I've watched it like within the year.
Wasn't with me.
I feel like that's weird. All right.
It's been a long time. We are going to revisit it's 2006, right?
I just pulled it up. 2005 again.
Man,
We
we
like some movies that came out in a dicey time.
No, it was because I had just come to school. I remember it was the Christmas when I just came to college.
Yeah.
And we went and saw it and thought it was so funny. I think it was Brittany and Vanessa and me.
Okay.
I know I watched it with them.
Yeah. At some point.
Because I think they like released it on DVD like weeks later. It was like at most February 1st. They were like here. And so we just watched the DVD a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And I was like peak Anna Faris stan at this point because I love her particular brand of shenanigans, especially in and around scary movies.
Yeah.
I have the controversial opinion that it peaks with Scary Movie 3.
Okay.
But again, haven't revisited. Scary Movie 3 was sillier in a way that
Is that all with Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
1 and 2 were like raunchy.
Okay.
And really topical, like really timely. Like, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. And it's like.
But one of those is the one where she says, Cindy, that's bones, right?
This is a skeleton. This is bones. Would you run from Callista Flatheart?
That's 2.
Okay.
They rushed the second. It was like a year later. It was out in theaters.
Okay.
But Scary Movie 3 is the one where Cameron Manheim. It's like Signs.
Oh,
and Cameron Manheim's hat just keeps getting bigger. That's my brand of inexplicably, because she then tries to get in the car. And it's
not totally inexplicable because Cherry Jones's hat in Signs is stupid big.
Is that what it? Okay.
It's Cherry Jones is like the cop who's like friends with.
Can we
Mel Gibson.
Can we watch Signs and Scary Movie 3?
Sure.
Because remember,
I feel like they're tonally so on opposite.
What's the same story?
Well, I mean,
because in Scary Movie 3, when they show the footage of like the aliens, it's like a person in a really cheap alien suit that's just like walking. Regardless, we're not talking about Scary Movie 3.
Not, no. We have not said the name of this movie.
Oh, Just Friends.
Yeah, we're watching Just Friends. You clicked on this. Yeah. You know what it is.
Anna Faris, as I recall, did a fair amount of heavy lifting in this movie.
Yeah. Forgiveness.
Because I put that as my MySpace song.
That's amazing.
And I just remember Jack being like, Will, no. And I was like, it's a joke.
It's a thing.
And he was like, you can never tell sometimes. To forgive is divine.
Well,
so let's have a glass of wine.
There's another line that I like so much. Oh, when she just is like, and then Bono comes in and he's like, forgiveness every day.
Forgiveness is the way. And then I can be like, forgiveness every day.
Yeah.
We're
just gonna recreate the movie right now from start to finish.
So I'm nervous because I remember loving this with such a pure, like, innocent, jovial place.
Sure.
And I'm afraid it's going to be stupid or offensive when you watch it and when you go back and watch it.
I don't think it's stupid. I don't remember it being offensive the last time I watched it.
For me, there's a difference between dumb and stupid. I would prefer dumb to stupid.
I think it's a little bit dumb, but
Yeah.
I think Ryan Reynolds doesn't have terrible taste in script.
Yeah, he was also kind of like weirdly peaking, but in an peaking is wrong. He was like having
this was
surgeons.
This was like post Van Wilder and post Waiting, and he was like turning the corner into like romantic.
Remember that shift or that era when like the DVD was like so big that they were just like making college movies for the purposes of releasing them on DVD. Yep. That's wild. Wow.
Yeah. I remember
we're about to go through it again with VOD.
We are. I remember when it's one of my favorite stories to tell because this is a movie I have not revisited often, but I remember when I worked at Target when I was like 16 and like one day in one shift, like 8 people came through buying the Boondock Saints. And I was like, so finally I was like, is this movie good? I was like, you're like the 8th person who's bought this movie. And they were like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's so funny. It's like so interesting. It's like, they really, really loved it. And so I bought it after my shift. And I, for like a solid 5 years, loved that movie. And I don't know the last time I saw it. Probably right before Will and I started dating, because we rewatched it. And then we went to go see the second one in the theater together. And so, that's 10 years ago now. And so I don't think I've seen it since then. I'm sure that one has aged even more poorly. But I do remember there being a point where like these movies came out in the theater, sort of. They were like out, but it was like a New York and LA kind of thing. And then you just like found movies on DVD and you bought them sight unseen.
Well, and it was happening with TV because it was like Lost got uber popular the summer that the first season came out.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so what a time. It was a time to be alive.
2005, baby.
Yeah. You had to go to Best Buy on Tuesday.
Yep.
Not Friday.
No, Tuesday.
Tuesday to get new movies and music.
Day.
And they would have them on tables in the front of the store.
Sure would.
And I would go to Best Buy every Tuesday.
I went with you a lot.
And man, I miss that. When did it change to Friday? I mean, Friday makes sense for the weekend and stuff, but...
Well, books are still on Tuesday, I think.
Are they?
But some stuff.
I feel like it was stuff
Fridays.
like Twilight. They started releasing it on
and Harry Potter.
Yeah, on Friday, so kids could have the weekend. Yeah. So I'm gonna choose to believe that this is good because of the comedic talents of Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart, and then even getting down to obviously Anna Faris, but Julie Haggerty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this that are really great at what they do, and I'm gonna hope that it
Amy Smart is very sweet too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna hope that it retains its
Clark and Darla.
Very quotable movie.
It is.
It's fallen off a little bit though.
Yeah.
So let's go watch it and find out.
All right, sweet.
Music producer Chris Brander has it all.
I saw you flirting with me out there. How did you do that to your boyfriend?
We're just friends.
But in high school, things were a little different.
You mean more to me than anyone in this whole world.
Really?
I love you, Chris. Like a brother. We're friends, right? Shut up! Just leave him alone!
Oh my God!
10 years later, touring with the world's hottest pop star.
God, I want to lick your skin off.
Will take him home for the holidays.
Hi, Mom. This is my brother, Mike. You're hot.
I know.
New Line Cinema presents
Not the same person I was in high school, pal.
You'll always be fat to me, Chris.
Ryan Reynolds, Amy Smart, Anna Faris, and Chris Klein.
How'd the big date go? It was terrible. I went in for a kiss, but she wants a hug. Then I get caught in a sort of kiss, hug, limbo type thing.
You gave her a body shake?
Just friends.
Hey, Merry Christmas, neighbor.
So I do have to ask, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, enriched is your life having heard the studio version of Forgiveness?
Well, I mean, I've heard it before.
The whole thing?
Yeah, we've sat and watched the whole credits before.
Good bit.
I don't know, like, you don't...
So 3.
You don't want me to answer that because it's not as enriched as your life is. I think it's just a silly, funny thing, and you're like, this is a masterpiece.
I mean, I like that towards the end, they go from throwing random, not in context, quotes from the movie into the song, than to just like general aphorisms of like we get a preacher and like a ooh, the big speech. So okay, we just watched Just Friends.
And you said it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Okay.
I don't know how exactly nostalgia works. So I don't know if I'm capable of separating it, but this is hilarious.
Yeah, it's a very funny movie.
And
it's densely packed hilarity too.
It's one of these movies. It's a cult classic. Like people love it, but it's like not. I hate that now we have. I mean, it's whatever, but we have to differentiate between cult classics now because it's like they'll still say something. Well, for instance, I mean, one of our favorite Showgirls. It's like that's so mainstream
now
at this point, liking Showgirls, and so
we liked it before it was cool.
But this is like a cult classic, like an actual one where it's like some people are like, huh?
What movie were you talking about? And it's like, before Ryan Reynolds was like Ryan Reynolds.
Right when he was like hitting, like you said, off of Van Wilder and into like, so. The movie had a negative reception. It's like a 40-something on Rotten Tomatoes. Although the audience score is like 75, which feels way more right.
Fucking critics.
The story...
It's dated.
Yeah.
It's dated and it like really, really walks the knife's edge between charming and gross.
Yeah.
Because you can make it gross at so many points, and I think they really swerve away from that.
And I think it is based solely on or really encapsulated by the fact that Jamie and to a lesser extent Samantha are dimensional characters.
Well, also
are actually developed characters.
Also, Jamie is like kind of a villain in her own right to an extent. She has to know what she's doing to these boys.
The movie doesn't play it that way.
I think it can be read that maybe not that she's doing it consciously, but I mean,
I like Amy Smart. I think she's underrated.
Me too. Let's watch The Butterfly Effect.
During this, I was thinking.
You're like, not no.
Because I thought that movie was like revolutionary when I saw it. And isn't it hot garbage?
I don't know that it's hot garbage. I think for like our generation, it was revolutionary at the time. But I think that if we were to go back and watch it again, I think we would have a lot
There's
of
a scene where if you freeze frame it, you can see straight up Ashton Kutcher's boxers.
Well, let's watch it.
It's more it's more of kind of like a dark mess, but it just like you can it was good for me.
Yeah. It worked. It worked in 2003.
I noticed watching this where you go back because you have the 2000s fat suit, which is just stuff that like, I mean, I don't know how I would tackle this movie now, but fat suits just feel not great and modern.
I think maybe, well, if we're going to go there.
Because it's played for comedy.
It is played for comedy. If we're going to go there, I think if you were to do it today, the very least you would do is cast a totally different actual 17-year-old kid as the young version. However, I think this concept brings up, like a darker thing, which is, you don't have to go get skinny in order to be successful. It's like, that's a very 2005 thing where it's like, I lost 150 pounds and moved to California and now I'm better than you. And it's like, I mean.
Well, the movie does explore that though.
A little, yeah, a little.
One of the reviews said something about like, overcome with gross out jokes or whatever. And I was like, I mean, he gets a little bloody twice. Is that what they like? I was like, I don't really know what they mean by.
Is it the toothpaste?
Well, so that it's like, I think sometimes when certain movies, because it's hardly an exceptional movie until we get to the points about it that I do think are exceptional. I think people didn't, especially critics, didn't take it seriously. I think they genuinely, I think they were like, I know what this is, pass. Yeah. And it's like, I would be so curious to know what a young person that happened upon this movie would think today, if they would find it funny, because I still haven't made my point about Jamie.
They're also not going to know that All for One song, which is
if we know one thing,
like half the joke.
Back to my point about Jamie is she's not the popular girl in the sense that she's not a mean girl.
Sure.
At no point is she snooty or slutty or like, because if anything, she's like, she's so, because you said she has to be aware, and I think she's so blissfully unaware because there's the shot of her like flipping on the bed with her like underwear showing and her denim skirt. And it's like, she seems like an actual, like, more of a girl next door.
Sure, I
than
think
like the hot chick.
It's not that I think she's maliciously leading these men on in her life. I just think it's like, this has already happened to her where she knows the ending, that he was in love with her in high school, and yet she's still following the same pattern with Dusty as an adult. And it's like, and then she's
I see
like,
it more as
surprised.
naive.
Okay, all right, I'll allow it.
And
I don't know how naive you can stay when you're
she works with children.
28, but
and
right.
and then at a bar, and that was just something that when I was watching it a second time, I was like, there actually is a decent amount of care given to. This is not a story about the story. Like, this is not a plot movie. This is a character. And for starters, this is a performance movie.
Yes.
You watch this movie to see the performances, the chemistry, the comedic and platonic and romantic, like all around the chemistry between the entire cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is really something to behold.
Mm-hmm. Even Clark and Darla.
For something so not worth the sum of its parts. Right. Like, and because I mentioned earlier, but I was like, Samantha is a dynamic character.
I mean, she's a lunatic, but she's interesting.
But in 2005, she's writing her own music.
Yeah.
She can play a guitar.
She doesn't sing well, but she also, you can tell that she has a rich inner Samantha life.
I mean, yes, she's a crazy person, but also it's
apparently Anna Faris was just like pounding Red Bulls to like get there, which I think is hysterical.
That's why she's manic the entire time. But it's like she's also, there's like no artifice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like she traps you or like entraps you. It's like it's right there.
Yeah, it's not like she's normal and then like 3 dates later she's crazy. It's like he says, we had one date and I wound up in the hospital. And it's just like, all right.
And it is just such a funny performance.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like universal, but there's just the way, it's like the way that her throat, like her mouth, the way, well, I even just said earlier,
Ooh, the big speech.
Ooh, the big speech.
Yeah.
she does this
really
like glottal thing.
Into
Yeah.
a lower register. And you're right, it's very throaty when she gets there.
And then the Clark and Darla. And then later she's like, Darla. DJ. That was the I like girls, Darla.
Yeah.
And they also do this thing that is precarious. It is precarious, but you reach a point where they are manhandling her in this movie.
He, specifically Ryan Reynolds, is
and
like
she's terrorized.
dragging her just like by the arm. And she, at one point, she's just sliding on her shoes on the icy snow.
And he sort of grabs her and she's like, and I don't know if it's because the power dynamics are so stable, I suppose. It's not unstable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she in her own right is a very powerful character.
Yeah, he's not in charge of her.
Well, and it's like she's very capable of defending herself and inflicting harm herself.
Sure.
That it takes the end, because it's like,
well, she just keeps grabbing his balls all the time.
I think it is an accomplishment to have that sort of physical, that sort of physicality with a man and a woman and have it genuinely play for laughs.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I mean, she's shot in the ass with a taser and falls off a balcony
in
and
the mall. Yeah.
So funny.
So funny.
About it, I get back.
Ow!
I gotta go.
And then she's like rendered Daffy.
Because she's on a bunch of Vicodin.
That was not given to her by the doctor.
No.
It was from their mother.
From Julie Haggerty.
Which explains a lot, actually.
Yep. Hello, Joyce.
And so at no point are you like, this poor woman is being like taken advantage of or abused or. Because
he's not abusing her. He's trying to get her somewhere. So he's not, he's not hitting her. He's not like shoving her, but he is dragging
Watch
her.
your face as he slams the door.
The window was open. She's fine.
She's having a good time. She's got her toothpaste.
No, I definitely agree with you. It is like a dicey line to toe, but at no point is there anything actually untoward happening.
And he's also, I wrote down a note because I wanted to remember it. He's he's such a gifted physical performer.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's got a face that is really good at expressing.
Like, there's moments in this where I'm like, this is good acting in a movie that does not need good acting.
Correct.
Like, he sort of like has moments, and he pulls off Indignant so beautifully. It's so, the scene in the diner with the like waitress, which I agree with you. You mentioned while we were watching that.
I'm a little bit on his side.
I'm on his side too.
He like took so much care and time to like lose this weight. He hasn't had sugar in 10 years, and she brings him this disgusting stack of pancakes that has candy and chocolate syrup and whipped cream all over it, and he's like, this will kill me. Like, I don't know. And Amy Smart is like, be a bigger baby, and I'm like, I mean,
but just the like,
I'm stuffed.
well, because she's like, you can eat my grilled cheese sandwich with a side of ranch. Absolutely not.
I caught that too.
And I was like, that's not better for his stomach. Like, this is going to cause an actual digestive problem. And like, you're treating it like it's just vanity, which it obviously, of course, is to a point. But I was like, he's going to be ill if he eats this.
And this is extremely heightened. Like, this is
Of course.
211. But where
does that waitress get off just bringing him pancakes?
I agree.
I'm sorry.
I was always on his side in
I'm
that scene. But I also really like how the movie, and I remember noticing this when I was younger too, but it was like, they are not on the same page hardly at all during this, what is it, presumably like 4 days, 5 days.
4 or 5 days, yeah. He just keeps like putting off leaving.
And I do like what it says about the nature of relationships and changing and stuff, because she gives him several chances, you know?
Well, I think it like keeps on getting sort of interrupted by other people and activities and stuff, where it's like, you know, the lunch gets ruined because the waitress brings the, you know, and he has to be kind of a dick about it because his stomach will explode. And then it's like their like walk or talk and ice skating or whatever turns into like a pickup hockey game where he gets like smashed in the face, and then they go to see The Notebook and Dusty and his mom end up coming. And so it's like he is trying to like do all of these things, and he is continually getting cockblocked by outside forces. So she is giving him openings, but they are also falling totally flat.
Well, he also,
through no real fault of his own.
He's like performing for her.
Yeah.
Like, it's like and that's where it's like, I do think this movie is maybe, I don't know if ahead of its time is the term, but I was going to say it's something akin to like a Sarah Marshall, where I was like really shocked by the amount of integrity that movie gave Sarah Marshall.
Sure, yeah.
And the places where her comedy are not coming from a place of dumb slut who dumped me. Like, it just, because also I think she doesn't know what she wants or who she is. You get the sense that she sort of just kind of got lost here, because the implication is that her family has money, so she doesn't really need.
Well, and she like makes a couple of comments where she's like, oh, I'm living at home again. And she also, there are these two really weird little vignettes that are in the movie, and they're really not addressed in any way, but it's both times when she's on the phone with Ryan Reynolds, and the first time she's washing like a Great Dane, she's giving like a Great Dane a bath, and it just is so odd. I've never really understood why those scenes are the way they are, because the second one she's like making cookies or brownie batter or something, and she's like demonstrably not cooking it. She just keeps putting the spoon in and like licking it. So she's just like eating cake batter.
So I don't know if this is it, but there were reshoots.
Okay.
And that could explain an odd scene that was there for the purpose of just progressing.
Yeah.
Because Samantha's ending was way different.
Okay.
She like, after she like cut and run, she went back to LA and wrote like an Alanis Morissette album. Like an angry, like Fiona Apple. Yeah. And it was like this smash hit. And there's a scene of her like playing the piano like seriously and people like applauding and stuff. And the test audiences hated it.
Oh, no.
Hated it. And even though it was quote unquote like better for her character, what Anna had done with the character. They just wanted more. So that scene at the end of her in the purple pajamas was a complete and total reshoot.
So it's like,
and from a comedic stance, it's way better that way.
It definitely is way better. That's the thing is like, maybe those were reshoots, but I don't know why those are the two scenes that I think about them so often, because I'm like, they're so weirdly divorced.
A Great Dane is something to enter into.
Exactly. And so it's like they're so divorced from the rest of the thing. And it's like, are these things that she's doing as like side jobs? Like, is she dog sitting this dog? Is she like making brownies with like a kid she babysits or something?
This is actually, I mean, considering that we kind of not really shit on it, but we like complained about the plot. We were like, this isn't a movie for the plot.
Yeah.
It is plotted in the sense that, you know, we get Chekhov's taser gun.
Sure. Yeah.
It is introduced before it comes into play.
It comes into play twice, too. 2 different times we get that.
And so in that regard, then yeah, maybe it could be to show that she's sort of like in this jack of all trades, like trying to figure out
like
what
you said, she's sort of lost. She's working at this bar.
She had the good sense to be embarrassed when he was back.
That's true.
Like she hid. And so, and I think that's what I mean, where it was like,
he also like, he turned into Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Super hot.
I wish there's another thing. This is what I kind of thought you were going to say, but it's after she goes to his house and does throw herself at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also loved that scene of her standing naked in the mirror before she puts the shirt on, just like looking at herself, because it frames what is presumably about to happen as something that she desires as well.
Sure.
We don't just see her coming out in the shirt from his perspective. It's weirdly like what I was getting from Jamie in this movie this time was doing way more for me than I ever realized.
She does have a level of agency that is like not necessary
required
at all. You're totally right. It is, because in so many of these movies, it's like she would just be the object of his desire, and there would be
Cecily Strong, the girl from a male-dominated comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Super Bowl is tomorrow night, and here with her predictions for the big game is the one-dimensional female character from a male-driven comedy. Welcome back, Heather.
It's me, Heather, from work. You might not have noticed me, but when you're making jokes with your friends during the meetings, I'm the one in the back going...
Okay.
I do like that moment we are acknowledging that she is interested in this too, and because they could have just
and that she's like, you can see the butterflies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They could have just picked it up in that scene after where she's talking to Darla and she's like, I gave him so many signs.
That's the scene. That's what I was getting to. That's what I thought you were about to, where we see him talking to Clark and like the assistant dentist, whatever that's called.
Dental hygienist.
There you go. We see that like 3 times, but we only see her talking to Darla once. Mm-hmm. And it's not, first of all, this is not a long movie, although I will say...
It's like, like an hour and 40 minutes?
No, it's like 80 something or 90 something.
136? Yeah, you're right.
And I will say, just because we are actually sort of critiquing it, it does feel a little long. I have always thought it kind of peters out a little bit when Chris Klein shows up. And that's not a criticism of him.
I disagree.
Okay. I've always thought it peters out a little. I think it's front loaded.
I mean, I would agree with that to a point. I sort of miss Chris Klein. I looked him up and he actually is still gigging, but I liked him a lot when I was in high school, and I don't know why this character is so funny to me. It's just so gross.
I think he is.
Is it like one element too many?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was enough watching. I think that Amy and Ryan's chemistry was good enough that I was invested already. I didn't need a fourth character who was also, because at this point we have Chris Klein, Anna Faris, and Ryan Reynolds all acting up here, and then a very grounded Amy Smart, sort of like oblivious to the shenanigans.
So I agree with you. It is also like, I think it's more charming just watching them bumble this relationship themselves as opposed to having an outside force sabotage, because that's the thing, is like, even Samantha is not necessarily sabotaging their relationship. She's just so self-centered that she's like, why aren't you paying attention to me?
You also sort of lose her a little bit through the movie, and it's only...
She's fine. She's got her toothpaste.
Blue
Okay, again, they give her material with Ryan Reynolds' brother, with Chris's brother, and the actor's name is Chris Marquette. I have not seen him in a lot of things, so I don't necessarily know.
He's in that movie Fanboys.
Okay.
I think.
But he is very good in this movie, and he's not shown up by those around him.
Yes. He's in The Girl Next Door also, and he's in a couple episodes of Barry. He is so interesting to me because I don't have any siblings, but you have a brother, and my husband has a brother, and I feel like...
We were never hostile this way.
I was going to say, but I think that Will and Arthur really were. I think they used to beat each other up, and I just like...
I did the spit thing one time to Andrew, and it didn't work. I just it dropped right on his face, and I felt so bad. Like, I was mortified, and I got in trouble. But I already was it was one of those things where you've gone too far.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we didn't have a hostile relationship in that regard.
Yeah, I know for a fact that Will and his brother weren't really friends until they were in middle school and high school. No, it was high school, but when they were young, they weren't really friends. And so I just feel like this happened. But you also have to keep in mind that these two are 10 years apart, too, which I think is important. But they have this really hostile relationship for 80% of the movie. And then there's a scene where Samantha is sleeping and they're both in there and they're whispering because Chris is like, I'm gonna go find Jamie, blah blah blah, and Mike is eating cookies and he's just like, hey man, I love you, and he's like, yeah, I love you too, and then he takes the other cookie and just leaves, and it's so sweet but understated, and their relationship is one of my favorite things in this movie.
Well, and also, I was gonna say, but Chris Marquette's chemistry with Anna Faris is really good too. Because another thing that always killed me was when she's trying to seduce him, and
the oil,
and she's just like, "Ooh, more."
He's pouring massage oil,
and she's like, "Okay, it's enough," and it's
Ooh, more. Okay, enough. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Because you just sort of see the layer. Like I said, this is a strangely dimensional character.
It is. It really is. It
where
really
even the scene with the salmon, microwaving the salmon.
Or tuna.
Sure, tuna.
I hate tuna. So yummy.
The salmon is later. I need salmon now. the tuna thing where they're like, you really put this in the microwave, and she says the container says microwavable, and they're like, well, the foil wasn't microwavable, and she was like, I'm the talent, that's not my. And I was like, I mean, yes, you should know that, but also it's
the type of thing where I feel like if you're well into your 20s, you should have microwaved your own food before at some point.
And I'm not arguing that she should know that, but I am saying she is correct in that should have already been done for her.
Agreed. She is a certain caliber of person. Somebody should have prepared
That's somebody's job.
But also, in a strike against her, she's putting ahi tuna in the microwave on an enclosed airplane for 5 minutes. 5 full
You're gonna get jerky. We haven't really mentioned Julie Haggerty. It is wild to me that you haven't seen Airplane, because that's what I know her from. What do you know her from?
Honestly, I don't know.
Is it this?
This is something that I know her from, but I must know her from other things too. I have seen scenes from Airplane my entire life.
Okay.
I know the jokes and stuff. It's not that I don't know what Airplane is. I think you will,
because
she's in Marriage Story.
Yeah, I knew that. She's having a bit of a renaissance.
She is. She's great.
It was such a delight when I was 20 and I saw, because I hadn't seen her in other things at that point. I was like, oh my God, it's the lady from Airplane. And I guess she's just like this.
Yeah.
Because she's like this in Airplane, albeit younger. So she's the romantic lead. I think you will like Airplane. I'm actually dying to get you to watch it.
Let's put it in January.
Okay.
I'll commit. Let's do it.
She's so funny in this, and she suits the world so well. Because honestly, I mean, Clark and Darla. I was going to say, is Jamie the only straight man in this movie?
But Clark and Darla.
Yeah, Clark and Darla are pretty straight. Yeah. But I'm so curious what's on the page.
Yeah.
What was part of this character before she was brought on? Because when we meet her, they land in New Jersey, and we know that he hasn't been home in 10 years.
Yeah.
And she does make sure to say he usually flies us out to LA. So they've seen each other. But when she sees him at the door, she's so excited. She's like, oh my God. And then she just starts sobbing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
She's just so overwhelmed and just is like weeping on.
Well, it's implied that the father is dead or gone.
Yeah.
Surprise!
It does so much for her character through the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also just like when he's on the phone and she picks up the phone and dials Joyce and she's, hello, Joyce?
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, it's me. And she's like, what are you doing at Joyce's house? And it just tells us so much about her worldview. Like,
well, and also, and then you get into like his response is like, no, Mom. And it's just a very like dry Ryan Reynolds. It's like, I'm downstairs. I'm on the phone.
I do think that the movie does sort of, and maybe peters out isn't the point or isn't the word that I mean, but it's all very funny, but I think it kind of like compounds. I think thing after thing after thing sort of gets to be, because like destroying all the decorations, again, all very funny.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you're like, oh my, like when he shows up at her door at the end, it's like.
So I agree, because it's like, Samantha has ruined all of her family's decorations, and then he gets into a fist fight with Dusty at the church, and he ruins more Christmas decorations. And by that point, you're like, stop having fist fights in public. Like, why do you keep doing this in public? And so I agree. Maybe it reaches like a point of entropy and starts to sort of implode on itself. But I think they stick the landing.
Yeah.
Especially because Dusty gets so gross so fast.
He really does.
He really is just like...
It goes paranoid, like, because Chris, like, he's like, or like.
But he also, once they actually have their like talk in the bar where they're getting ready to do karaoke or whatever, we're not gonna be just friends for long or whatever, and she's like, what? And he
that was it.
He just is like, you have to. I wrote you that beautiful song. What kind of girl doesn't put out after something like that? And I was like, ooh.
That's where I think she doesn't actually know.
Yeah. I am certainly not making excuses for these men. I'm just saying.
I do love that scene because that's when they're finally, it's like, it's awful. Like, it's mean, but there is an element of honesty. Yeah. And like, I love when they both get mean with each other because it's like, now we're talking. Yeah. We've gotten to, because he's performing through the whole thing and she understands that. And she's like trying to like see if she can get there. And I remember being like 20 and he was like, you'll always be the girl that peaked in high school. And I was like,
yeah, that's a tough.
Oh. And then she slaps him and he was like, you hit like a girl.
You hit like a cheerleader. You slap like a cheerleader and then she fucking decks him.
So good. That was great. It's so good. That was really, a deep cut. Sorry.
It is really good though.
It's just like, oh, it's wonderful. I never realized how completely open-ended it does end.
Yeah.
Like while we were watching it, I was honestly like, does she go to California or does he move back home? And I was like,
yeah. He is like, I want to marry you. He does say that to her, but it's like, I know it's like a rom-com thing or whatever, but I mean, they have not spent significant time together in 10 years. I don't know how compatible we're going to
I don't imagine much comes of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, so in that regard, it was right to end there.
But you have to do the thing sometimes. Sometimes you just have to like make the thing happen in order to know it's not the thing for you.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just nostalgia, but well, like I said, I think it is the chemistry of the cast and the level of performance, the comedic performance that really elevates it.
Yeah.
And I think it is way better than it appears its reputation. Well, I guess its reputation is probably solid, but it was better than its
critical reception.
Reception. That's what I was about to say.
Boo, critics. We're getting into a better place now.
And I think there's tons of art that is not understood or appreciated, when in its time.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about how many Disney things did not do well initially. Like Emperor's New Groove is one of their better, like on streaming on Disney Plus, people watch it. And that movie bombed hard
it did bomb
when it
hard.
came out. And I mean,
to also talk about a wild cast that like are really good.
A similar thing, like
off each other. I know that for voice work, they often aren't in the studio together, but do you ever sometimes just really, really hope that Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton were in the booth together?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be amazing? It feels like it would be amazing.
I just wrote down the editing.
Is it? Was it? I don't notice really.
From a comedic standpoint. It is so well edited.
Yeah.
The reactions that the performers get and the cutting back and forth, particularly, I think I wrote that scene down the first time they get to the bar, and it was the Clark and Darla scene, and the way that like the way Samantha's coming in and out of the scene and stuff. I think that's super good. And this also has like a pretty banging soundtrack.
It does.
There's a song in this that I love called Catch My Disease by an artist named Ben Lee.
Okay.
Again, it plays in the bar scene.
So please, baby, please, open your heart, catch my disease.
It's also used in the pilot episode of Community, I think. I think it's sort of subconscious, but it really sort of sets a tone, and it plays under the whole scene. And I love it because it actually, that song name checks Good Charlotte. I was like, do you remember like the 5 years when Good Charlotte was like the height of the music industry?
Look, do I need to find my whatever that first album was that was just clouds?
Oh shit! What was
CD? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember. They're from our. I don't know if any of you know what Good Charlotte is, but it was a band that was very popular at one point. But they're from our hometown, so much so that
Naptown. Apparently, they call it that a lot in their songs.
Waldorf.
Yeah.
But we're close with people who like knew them, and like one of my friend's sisters dated and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that was always a fun bit of trivia for us.
Don't worry, they didn't date Joel or Benji. Okay. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching or Instagram at So I'm Watching This Show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including an excellent Christmas present for all your friends and family. This book called Fairy Tale. I'm going to keep doing it.
Okay.
So get used to it.
It's a book that I wrote. It's called Fairy Tale, and it is about fairy tales.
Very good.
And the way I pitch it to people is it is Gossip Girl meets Game of Thrones.
I helped. I'm just saying. It's exciting for me too. And then other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen. And that's it for us.
Cool.
Bye.